Welcome to the Cabral Concept. I'm Stephen Cabral, board certified naturopathic doctor, and today we are going to do another Friday in review. So some of my favorite topics really are reviewing a lot of things I use in my own practice every single day. And these are products that I also use with myself. So I test out a lot of nutritional supplements, at least one new product per week with myself to see the efficacy of that product and also how my body might react. Now, of course, everyone's body reacts a little bit differently, but I do like to test the products with myself first before I would ever recommend them to you or any one of my wellness clients. So let's get started first. We're going to go through a book today, some different types of water that we use, and also one great nutritional supplement. So this product is called Digestive Enzyme, and it's by Orthomolecular Products. So orthomolecular medicine is essentially looking at specific nutrients at an orthomolecular dosage. So a larger dosage, and a dosage large enough to actually create some type of change in the body. So Linus Pauling, he was one of the really, I can't say he was one of the first, but he was one of the biggest names, a Nobel Prize winner, for actually showing that vitamin C or ascorbic acid and a lot of other nutritional vitamins can make huge and pronounced changes on the body in a positive way, meaning like for cholesterol, for colds, for all these specific things. The research is there. They show that they work. One of those products today is a digestive enzyme. Now this is very straightforward. Every living food has enzymes contained within it. And the easiest example I always use is if you see an apple fall from the tree and it hits the ground, it's basically gonna dent or crack those cells, the tissues of the fruit itself, the apple. Once that happens, the enzymes are released and it's gonna start to actually eat away at the apple itself. Well, that helps digest that apple. Just like when you chew raw food or you chew your food in your mouth, just the act of chewing alone breaks open those cells of the fruits, vegetables, meat, whatever it might be, and those enzymes start to react and break down the food. Okay, but when we cook our food, we're taking out a lot of those enzymes, so we're cooking out those enzymes. Now that's not necessarily a bad thing because it can make those foods easier to digest in the long run in your stomach, but using something like a digestive enzyme before a meal, 10 minutes before a meal, or even with your first bite's okay. What this does is this contains different enzymes to break down proteins, okay, proteases, lipase to break down fats, and amylase and all sorts of other ACEs, basically to break down your carbohydrates. So the nice thing about this type of product is that some of them even contain different enzymes to break down dairy or gluten if you're sensitive to those things. And so if you're out for even a cheat meal, that's pretty much, so in the beginning I use these with a lot of people with bloating, gas, IBS, all sorts of different issues. Very few actual health conditions would be contraindicated for a digestive enzyme, meaning like there's very few conditions you would have that you wouldn't take a digestive enzyme to help strengthen your digestive system. Now we use these a lot because people's digestive systems are so weak, especially if you're on some type of acid blocker. I just highly recommend, if you're gonna stay on an acid blocker, at least use a digestive enzyme with your meals. What would it do? It literally, if you were to open up the capsule and pour it on something like oatmeal, you'd see that oatmeal start to dissolve over like a half-hour period of time. It just breaks it down and turns it into a mush. Now that means your body has to do less work digesting the food. So a really nice thing, and the thing is, it's going to take less of your own energy, so you have more of your own energy to be able to use it for thinking, for clarity. You won't be so tired after a meal. I don't want to get too much into digestive enzymes today. I'm going to talk a lot more about them when I do talk about digestion in general, but just wanted to recommend this product. I feel really confident about recommending this to you. Orthomolecular is a great brand. It's called Digestive Enzyme. We'll link up in the show notes as well. All right, before we get to, let's talk about the book, what I'd like to do is just show you, so a lot of people asked, you know, what is the water that you see in a lot of my videos and that we use basically, or I just have at my desk, and we give this to wellness clients when they do walk in for a consultation with myself. It's just called Saka. So it's a natural spring-based water. It is from Turkey, so you have to deal with that transportation, which isn't ideal either, but we don't have a lot of natural wells around here, so I can't get natural spring water. It is in a BPA-free bottle. It's low in sodium, which some people do care about, and it has a pH of 8.22, this says, so somewhere around 8.5 for a pH. So it's a little bit more alkaline, which just means it has a little bit more minerals in it. It's a nice drinking water. It's very light, it's easy to drink, and our clients absolutely love it. So I found it at a kind of like a boutique food store a few years ago, and now we actually, it actually gets delivered right in Boston, which is why kind of that extra footprint of it making itself from, from Turkey where it's bottled isn't necessarily as bad. You do have to keep in mind that tap water is really so bad now. It's just loaded with fluoride. It's loaded with pharmaceutical drugs, loaded with aluminum. Too many things that unless you're able to filter that and filter it really well, I just can't recommend it right now. You just never know what's in that tap water from a day-to-day basis. Now, it is great that we have running tap water for a lot of people who aren't, as fortunate to be able to get a good quality, clean bottled water. There's really no easy answer, but it is an excellent clean water, and I do recommend it. Hard to get, but if you do have it in your area, it's a great water to get. The only caveat to alkaline-based waters, and I'm not talking about super alkaline waters, this is just a natural spring water, and I do recommend spring water, is that you don't drink a high alkaline water during a meal because it may alkalize your stomach to too great of a degree, and that's going to kind of weaken digestion. So have it between meals. I'll talk more about alkaline waters in the future, whether I think they're good, bad, or indifferent. All right, last review today is on a book I read quite a while ago. It's called The Warrior Diet. I always butcher Ori's last name, but his last name is Hofmeckler. So Ori Hofmeckler, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, but you can just look up The Warrior Diet. It is an excellent book. So here's the thing about me and books. I hardly ever completely agree with the author on every single thing, because a lot of times authors have kind of one specific set point that they're talking about, and they leave out a lot of the other caveats. Like, this is a book on, now this doesn't mean Ori is wrong at all, but you can't explain every single thing about everything in a 260 page book or 250 page book. It's just physically impossible. So, and again, I'm sure Ori knows a lot of these things as well, but what I'm gonna say is this is a book on intermittent fasting. And Ori's philosophy is that back in paleo-based times, really, and I believe that he's correct, people would eat one main meal. All right, so Ori's, and that the reason is that you couldn't, and that's my whole thing with paleo, is you never wake up and have, bacon and eggs for breakfast. That would be absolutely ridiculous in paleo times. Then a burger for lunch with bacon, more bacon, and then salmon for dinner. It just doesn't happen. That's an insane concept. And so what Ori does is basically the last meal of the day, when the body's set to be able to sit down and rest and relax, which I agree with as well, is that's when you have your meal. The rest of the day, you're basically fasting. Now, he has different methods on fasting of whether you can have this or that or whatever it might be, but you can't do anything to essentially build up or make your body digest. So, I have a different take on that. I'm not going to go into it completely today, but what I can say is intermittent fasting can be fantastic for people who have maybe an issue with their digestive system, or they do have an autoimmune-based disease, or they have a detoxification-based issue where they're trying to work on a process called autophagy, which is allowing the body to actually break down some of those immune complexes in the blood. Now, it gets complicated, but it works exceptionally well. But the thing is, it's not right for everyone. And if you're just starting out with a new healthy nutrition plan, I would certainly not start with intermittent fasting, and I wouldn't start with just one meal a day. That's not going to be great in the long run, or I should say, at least in the short term for you. And the reason is, if you're suffering with energy-based issues or blood sugar irregularity or adrenal fatigue, thyroid-based issues, fasting all day and only having one meal can actually hurt that, because fasting could put you into a greater sympathetic nervous system fight or flight-based response, which just means more stress in your body, right? So if you're more stressed, it could actually start to break down muscle tissue, release liver glycogen, spike blood sugar levels on their own, and create more stress. So that wouldn't be the right time. When is intermittent fasting best for you? Probably once you've started to rebalance your body to a greater degree. And once you've started to rebalance it through just good, healthy nutrition, right? Whole foods, detoxification, potentially some type of cleansing, those types of things, then you can say, okay, I've lost some weight, my body's healthier, maybe I could try going down to no breakfast and then just lunch and dinner. And then maybe I could try to just doing dinner. So one thing I say is, maybe you don't have to do that every single day of the week. Maybe you actually enjoy eating. So then you can say, well, one day a week I could do an intermittent fast where I'm just going from dinner one night to dinner the next night. And that's actually what I like to explore, and I like people to explore first. So again, you don't have to just throw the baby out with the bathwater. You can just say, this is a good book, and there's excellent principles in it, and I actually really enjoyed reading The Warrior Diet many years ago, and I like all of the concepts, but let's just not go overboard in saying everyone has to just eat one meal per day. So hope you enjoyed those reviews today. I'm going to be back with more next Friday in our Friday in Review.